So, it's October. Time to talk about Christmas. Right? No. But seriously, the worship associates planned our Christmas services just this past week. And just a few days before that, Tristan and I had our annual "How the heck are we going to do Christmas this year?" conversation. You see, we have the great blessing and great curse of two families who love Christmas and who want us to spend as much time with them as possible over the holiday, especially now that there's a baby in the mix. Now, this, of course, comes with all the complications of competing family traditions, those oh-so-lovely family dynamics. You know them. They always come out when you gather or when you try to plan a gathering. And the fact that, did you know I'm a minister, so I work on Christmas Eve? Now, every time we have this conversation, which actually is every year, I consider just giving up on spending Christmas with family. If we were to tell people we're just going to stay home, there wouldn't be any jealousy about who gets more time. We wouldn't have to deal with figuring out which traditions are the most important to be there for and trying to balance that. I wouldn't have to worry about my brother wanting to debate religion, or whether we have the proper napkins to host my in-laws at our house. It would be much simpler. And yet, we never choose to stay home. Because when it comes right down to it, the holidays are about family first and foremost for both of us. The truth is that there would be something major missing if we weren't with family for Christmas. Our realization is much like that of the woman in our story today. At the beginning of the story, she gets fed up with church community, with her church community. How many of you have experienced that? You don't even have to raise your hand. We'll just trust that you're all raising your hands. She isn't sure that the people in her church are living up to what they believe. The worship isn't speaking to her anymore. And she realizes that actually she has a choice. She doesn't have to come to church. No one's forcing her. She doesn't have to be a part of that community. She can find sanctuary somewhere else. As Emma Merchant said in the words for reflection that Jacob shared, one of the powerful things about church community is that we choose it. No one is forcing you to be here, to be part of this community. As Emma writes, we choose that love. We choose each other. Of course, that also means that we can choose something else. And so that's what this woman in our story does. She decides to go for walks on Sunday mornings instead. She goes to the woods and is fine for a while until she realizes that finding sanctuary alone just isn't the same. As she says, the flora and fauna did not face what she faced as a human. And so could not offer their understanding. Nor could she really offer herself to any of them. And so she goes back to that church community, and she's able to see the people of her church in a whole new way. They're actually not any more perfect than they were before. The sermons still don't always speak to her, but she chooses them anyway. She chooses to find sanctuary with others because she wants someone who will rejoice with her about her new grandchild. She wants someone who will be able to help her bear the burden of her mother's Alzheimer's. She wants people to journey with on the daily struggle of being human. People who will support her and who need her for support. My colleague, the Reverend Elizabeth Wynne, often points out that our choice is between imperfect community on the one hand and no community at all. There is no such thing as perfect community. This is precisely what the woman in our story realizes in the end, and she chooses that imperfect community over having no community at all. She chooses the disappointment and frustration that inevitably comes with being with others, because along with it comes love, support, and companionship. There's an Irish proverb that says, "It is in the shelter of each other that the people live." It doesn't say in that proverb that that shelter is perfect, probably has some holes in the roof, but it is what helps us live. Church is often talked about as a chosen family, just as Emma Merchant talked about it in those words for reflection. And I love the way she talks about it. It's beautiful. We have continuously made the choice over and over again, she says. Every time we attend worship, every time we donate our time and energy, every time we clasp hands in meditation is a promise. I am here for you. And it is a choice. You are choosing to be here. You are choosing to participate. You are choosing to be that shelter for each other that helps us to live and grow and thrive. You are choosing to be stuck together, for better or for worse. I love the way that Emma talks about church as a chosen family, and I love that it's one of our UU youth who talks about it that way. But at the same time, I struggle with that concept of chosen family. There's an implication in the phrasing, chosen family, that makes it seem like dealing with your chosen family should be easy, or at least easier than dealing with the family you didn't choose. And yet sometimes chosen families are just as hard to deal with as the families we are born into. Sometimes our chosen families want to debate religion with us too, right? And judge us for our napkins. I hope not, but sometimes. Even our chosen communities are imperfect, because the choice is not between a perfect community and an imperfect one, right? It's between an imperfect community and no community at all. My struggle with the concept of church as chosen family is the same struggle I have with thinking about church as sanctuary, even though that's our theme for the month. There's an implication in that word, sanctuary, of perfect safety and perfect security. It's like the picture painted by the hymn that we just sang together. The first verse, which you all missed, "May nothing evil cross this door, and may ill fortune never pry about these windows. May the roar and rain go by. By faith made strong, the rafters will withstand the battering of the storm. This hearth, though all the world grow chill, will keep you warm. With laughter drown the raucous shout, and though these sheltering walls are thin, may they be strong to keep hate out and hold love in." Isn't it beautiful, those words? It's a beautiful and comforting image. Whatever is happening out there, it will be warm and cozy, at least a little warm and cozy in here. We don't have to worry about the rest of the world as long as we are in here, our sanctuary from the storm. You might be able to guess my problem. Once again, it's not really grounded in reality. We are not separate and apart from the world. Living in the shelter of each other does not protect us from all evil, either inside or outside these walls. Once again, our sanctuary is imperfect. In the early Harry Potter books, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry is portrayed as something of a sanctuary. In the first book, Hagrid declares that Gringotts, the bank of the wizarding world, is the safest place to hide something, aside from Hogwarts, that is. It is the epitome of safety and security. And for Harry, the main character, if you don't know that, it certainly acts as a sanctuary, a place away from the difficult life that he has lived with his aunt and uncle thus far, a place where he is able to learn and grow, a place where he finds chosen family in Ron and Hermione, in Dumbledore and Hagrid. And yet, spoiler alert, Hogwarts isn't really the haven of safety and security that it seems at first. In fact, Voldemort, who is the very epitome of evil, manages to penetrate the sanctuary of Hogwarts literally every single book. Right? The sheltering walls of Hogwarts don't keep hate out. And in fact, when they try to do so, when we get to the later books in which not everyone believes that Voldemort has returned, when people keep insisting that no matter what, Hogwarts is safe, that denial of what is happening in the world and what could happen in those walls becomes a real problem. It puts people in danger. Living in the shelter of each other cannot mean that we turn our backs on the rest of the world. It cannot mean that we are simply satisfied when we find our own temporary comfort. Hate will find its way into our lives, even, or perhaps especially, when we try to pretend that it doesn't exist. I don't think that it does us any good to try to idealize church. To do so, to paint it as a perfect chosen family or a perfect sanctuary, safe from the cares of the world, from the cares of each other, would be to deny the reality of our human condition. This sanctuary that we build together is not perfect. It will not be perfect. The Reverend Rebecca Parker writes that paradise is not a place free from suffering or conflict, but it is a place in which spirit is possible, and spirit is present, and love is possible. Perhaps this is the kind of sanctuary that we build together as a church community. Not free from suffering or conflict, but a place where spirit is present and love is possible. Emma Merchant writes that our UU churches are spaces created by the very idea of love. We are a sanctuary built by the sacred power of imperfect people coming together again and again to laugh and cry, to rest and work, to be silent and to sing with all our might, to try our best to make sense of this messy world we live in and our messy lives. We choose to come together again and again because we know that the choice is between imperfect community and no community at all, and because we know deep down that we need one another. We live in the shelter of each other, not because it is easy or because we can fully protect each other from the world, but because choosing love, choosing each other, is the best choice that we have. In the words of Emma Merchant, we choose to build a sanctuary because we choose each other. Through thick and thin, we have chosen love. And in hard times, struggling times that we face every day, we come together even closer. We make the choice to listen to each other. We make the choice to pick each other up, and we make the choice to love each other. We choose that love, she says. We choose each other. Our hearts echo. I choose you. I am here. I am here. I am here. May it be so.
Hand in hand, stone by stone, help me build our sacred home. Hand in hand, stone by stone, help me build our sacred home. Stone by stone, help me build our sacred home. Hand in hand, stone by stone, help me build our sacred home. This house is built on love. This house is built with faith. This house gonna stand for good forever and a day. Come on down this path with me to the place where the road ends. Beyond, beyond, beyond. Hand in hand, stone by stone, help me build our sacred home. Hand in hand, stone by stone, help me build our sacred home. People gonna see us speaking out. People gonna see us holding strong. Everybody's gonna sing out loud. Come on and sing along. Come on, just path with me to the place where the road ends. Beyond, beyond, beyond. Hand in hand, stone by stone, help me build our sacred home. Hand in hand, stone by stone, help me build our sacred home. It's a church of the open mind. It's a church of the loving heart. It's a church of the helping hand. Everybody plays a part. Come on down this path with me to the place where the road